It is the day when he was born, a bitter day that early sank behind a purple frosty bank of vapour, leaving night forlorn. The time admits not flowers or leaves to deck the banquet. Fiercely flies the blast of north and east, and ice makes daggers at the sharpened eaves, and bristles all the brakes and thorns to yon hard crescent, as she hangs above the wood, which grides and clangs its leafless ribs and iron horns together in the drifts that pass to darken on the rolling brine that breaks the coast. But fetch the wine, arrange the board, and brim the glass. Bring in great logs and let them lie to make a solid core of heat. Be cheerful-minded, talk and treat of all things even as he were by. We keep the day. With festal cheer, with books and music, surely we will drink to him, whate'er he be, and sing the songs he loved to hear. I will not shut me from my kind, and lest I stiffen into stone, I will not eat my heart alone, nor feed with sighs a passing wind. What profit lies in barren faith, and vacant yearning, though with might to scale the heavens' highest height, or dive below the wells of death? What find I in the highest place, but mine own phantom chanting hymns, and on the depths of death there swims the reflex of a human face? I'll rather take what fruit may be of sorrow under human skies. 'Tis held that sorrow makes us wise, whatever wisdom sleep with thee. Heart affluence in discursive talk from household fountains never dry, the critic clearness of an eye that saw through all the muses' walk, seraphic intellect and force to seize and throw the doubts of man, impassioned logic which outran the hearer in its fiery course, high nature amorous of the good, but touched with no ascetic gloom, and passion pure in snowy bloom through all the years of April blood. A love of freedom rarely felt, of freedom in her regal seat of England, not the schoolboy heat, the blind hysterics of the Celt, and manhood fused with female grace. In such a sort the child would twine a trustful hand, unasked in thine, and find his comfort in thy face. All these have been, and thee mine eyes have looked on. If they looked in vain, my shame is greater who remain, nor let thy wisdom make me wise. Thy converse drew us with delight, the men of wraith and riper years. The feeble soul, a haunt of fears, forgot his weakness in thy sight. On thee the loyal-hearted hung, the proud was half disarmed of pride, nor cared the serpent at thy side to flicker with his double tongue. The stern were mild when thou wert by, the flippant put himself to school, and heard thee, and the brazen fool was softened, and he knew not why. While I, thy nearest, sat apart, and felt thy triumph was as mine, and loved them more that they were thine, the graceful tact, the Christian art. Nor mine the sweetness or the skill, but mine the love that will not tire, and born of love, the vague desire that spurs an imitative will. The churl in spirit, up or down along the scale of ranks, through all to him who grasps a golden bull, by blood a king, at heart a clown. The churl in spirit, howe'er he veil his want in forms for fashion's sake, will let his cultish nature break at seasons through the gilded pale. For who can always act? But he to whom 1,000 memories call, not being less but more than all, the gentleness he seemed to be. best seemed the thing he was, and joined each office of the social hour to noble manners, as the flower and native growth of noble mind. Nor ever narrowness or spite, or villain fancy fleeting by, drew in the expression of an eye, where God and nature met in light, and thus he bore without abuse the grand old name of gentleman, defamed by every charlatan, and soiled with all ignoble use. High wisdom holds my wisdom less, that I, who gaze with temperate eyes on glorious insufficiencies, set light by narrower perfectness. But thou, that fillest all the room of all my love, art reason why I seem to cast a careless eye on souls, the lesser lords of doom. For what wert thou? Some novel power sprang up for ever at a touch, and hope could never hope too much in watching thee from hour to hour. Large elements in order brought, and tracts of calm from tempests made, and world-wide fluctuation swayed in vassal tides that followed thought. 'Tis held that sorrow makes us wise, yet how much wisdom sleeps with thee, which not alone had guided me, but served the seasons that may rise. For can I doubt, who knew thee keen in intellect, with force and skill, to strive, to fashion, to fulfil, I doubt not what thou wouldst have been, a life in civic action warm, a soul on highest mission sent, a potent force in parliament, a pillar steadfast in the storm, should licensed boldness gather force becoming when the time has birth, a lever to uplift the earth and roll it in another course, with thousand shocks that come and go, with agonies, with energies, with overthrowings and with cries, and undulations to and fro. Who loves not knowledge? Who shall rail against her beauty? May she mix with men and prosper. Who shall fix her pillars? Let her work prevail. But on her forehead sits a fire. She sets her forward countenance, and leaps into the future chance, submitting all things to desire. Half-grown as yet, a child and vain, she cannot fight the fear of death. What is she? Cut from love and faith, but some wild palace from the brain of demons, fiery hot to burst all barriers in her onward race for power. Let her know her place. She is the second, not the first. A higher hand must make her mild, if all be not in vain, and guide her footsteps moving side by side with wisdom like the younger child. For she is earthly of the mind, but wisdom heavenly of the soul. O friend, who camest to thy goal so early, leaving me behind, I would the great world grew like thee, who grewest not alone in power and knowledge, but by year and hour in reverence and in charity. Now fades the last long streak of snow. Now burgeons every maze of quick about the flowering squares, and thick by ashen roots the violets blow. Now rings the woodland loud and long, the distance takes a lovelier hue, and drowned in yonder living blue, the lark becomes a sightless song. Now dance the lights on lawn and lea, the flocks are whiter down the vale, and milkier every milky sail on winding stream or distant sea, where now the sea-mew pipes, or dives in yonder greening gleam, and fly the happy birds that change their sky to build and brood, that live their lives from land to land. And in my breast spring wakens too, and my regret becomes an April violet, and buds and blossoms like the rest. Is it then regret for buried time that keenlier in sweet April wakes, and meets the year, and gives and takes the colours of the crescent prime? Not all, the songs, the stirring air, the life reorient out of dust, cry through the sense to heart and trust in that which made the world so fair. Not all regret. The face will shine upon me while I must alone, and that dear voice I once have known still speak to me of me and mine. Yet less of sorrow lives in me, for days of happy commune dead, less yearning for the friendship fled, than some strong bond which is to be. Of days and hours, your work is this, to hold me from my proper place, a little while from his embrace, for fuller gain of after bliss. That out of distance might ensue desire of nearness doubly sweet, and unto meeting when we meet, delight 100-fold accrue. For every grain of sand that runs, and every span of shade that steals, and every kiss of toothed wheels, and all the courses of the sun. Contemplate all this work of time, the giant labouring in his youth, nor dream of human love and truth, as dying nature's earth and lime, but trust that those we call the dead are breathers of an ampler day, for ever nobler ends. They say the solid earth whereon we tread in tracts of fluent heat began, and grew to seeming random forms, the seeming prey of cyclic storms, till at the last arose the man, who throve and branched from clime to clime, the herald of a higher race, and of himself in higher place, if so he type this work of time within himself from more to more, or crowned with attributes of woe, like glories move his course, and show that life is not as idle ore, but iron dug from central gloom, and heated hot with burning fears, and dipped in baths of hissing tears, and battered with the shocks of doom to shape and use. Arise and fly, the reeling fawn, the sensual feast, move upward, working out the beast, and let the ape and tiger die. Doors where my heart was used to beat so quickly, not as one that weeps I come once more. The city sleeps, I smell the meadow in the street. I hear a chirp of birds, I see betwixt the black fronts long withdrawn a light blue lane of early dawn, and think of early days and thee, and bless thee, for thy lips are bland, and bright the friendship of thine eye. And in my thoughts, with scarce a sigh, I take the pressure of thine hand. I trust I have not wasted breath. I think we are not holy brain, magnetic mockeries, not in vain, like Paul with beasts I fought with death, not only cunning casts in clay. Let science prove we are, and then what matters science unto men, at least to me, I would not stay. Let him, the wiser man, who springs hereafter, up from childhood shape his action, like the greater ape. But I was born to other things. Sad Hesper o'er the buried sun, and ready thou to die with him, thou watchest all things ever dim and dimmer, and a glory done. The team is loosened from the wain, the boat is drawn upon the shore. Thou listenest to the closing door, and life is darkened in the brain. Bright phosphor, fresher for the night, by thee the world's great work is heard, beginning, and the wakeful bird. Behind thee comes the greater light. The market boat is on the stream, and voices hail it from the brink. Thou hearest the village hammer clink, and seest the moving of the team. Sweet Hesper, Phosphor, double name for what is one, the first, the last. Thou like my present and my past. Thy place is changed, thou art the same. Oh, wast thou with me, dearest, then, while I rose up against my doom, and yearned to burst the folded gloom, to bear the eternal heavens again, to feel once more in placid awe the strong imagination roll, a sphere of stars about my soul, in all her motion one with law. If thou wert with me, and the grave divide us not, be with me now, and enter in at breast and brow, till all my blood, a fuller wave, be quickened with a livelier breath, and like an inconsiderate boy, as in the former flash of joy, I slip the thoughts of life and death, and all the breeze of fancy blows, and every dewdrop paints a bow, the wizard lightnings deeply glow, and every thought breaks out a rose. There rolls the deep where grew the tree. O earth, what changes hast thou seen! There where the long street roars hath been the stillness of the central sea. The hills are shadows, and they flow from form to form, and nothing stands. They melt like mist, the solid lands like clouds, they shape themselves and go. But in my spirit will I dwell, and dream my dream, and hold it true, for though my lips may breathe adieu, I cannot think the thing farewell. That which we dare invoke to bless, our dearest faith, our ghastliest doubt, he, they, one, all, within, without, the power in darkness whom we guess. I found him not in world or sun, or eagle's wing, or insect's eye, nor through the questions men may try the petty cobwebs we have spun. If e'er when faith had fallen asleep I heard a voice, believe no more, and heard an ever-breaking shore that tumbled in the godless deep, a warmth within the breast would melt the freezing reasons cold apart, and like a man in wrath the heart stood up and answered, I have felt. No, like a child in doubt and fear, but that blind clamour made me wise. Then was I as a child that cries, but crying knows his father near. And what I am beheld again, what is, and no man understands. And out of darkness came the hands that reach through nature, moulding men. Whatever I have said or sung, some bitter notes my harp would give. Yea, though there often seemed to live a contradiction on the tongue, yet hope had never lost her youth. She did but look through dimmer eyes, or love but played with gracious lies, because he felt so fixed in truth. And if the song were full of care, he breathed the spirit of the song. And if the words were sweet and strong, he set his royal signet there, abiding with me till I sail to seek thee on the mystic deeps, and this electric force that keeps 1,000 pulses dancing fail. Love is and was my Lord and King, and in his presence I attend to hear the tidings of my friend, which every hour his couriers bring. Love is and was my King and Lord, and will be, though as yet I keep within his court on earth, and sleep encompassed by his faithful guard, and hear at times a sentinel who moves about from place to place, and whispers to the worlds of space in the deep night that all is well. And all is well, though faith and form be sundered in the night of fear. Well roars the storm to those that hear, a deeper voice across the storm, proclaiming social truth shall spread, and justice, even though thrice again the dreadful fury of the Seine should pile her barricades with dead. But ill for him that wears a crown, and him the lazar in his rags. They tremble, the sustaining crags, the spires of ice are toppled down, and molten up and roar in flood, the fortress crashes from on high, the brute earth lightens to the sky, and the great aeon sinks in blood, and compassed by the fires of hell, while thou, dear spirit, happy star, o'erlook'st the tumult from afar, and smilest, knowing all is well. The love that rose on stronger wings, unpalsied when he met with death, is comrade of the lesser faith that sees the course of human things. No doubt vast eddies in the flood of onward time shall yet be made, and throned races may degrade. Yet oh, ye mysteries of good, wild hours that fly with hope and fear, if all your office had to do with old results that look like new, is this, were all your mission here, to draw, to sheathe the useless sword, to fool the crowd with glorious lies, to cleave a creed in sects and cries, to change the bearing of a word, to shift an arbitrary power, to cramp the student at his desk, to make old bareness picturesque, and tuft with grass a feudal tower? Why then my scorn might well descend on you and yours. I see in part that all, as in some piece of art, is toil cooperant to an end. Dear friend, far off, my lost desire, so far, so near in woe and weal. O loved the most, when most I feel there is a lower and a higher, known and unknown, human, divine, sweet human hand and lips and eye, dear heavenly friend, that canst not die, mine, mine, forever, ever mine. Strange friend, past, present, and to be, loved deeplier, darklier understood. Behold, I dream a dream of good, and mingle all the world with thee. Thy voice is on the rolling air, I hear thee where the waters run. Thou standest in the rising sun, and in the setting thou art fair. What art thou then? I cannot guess, but though I seem in star and flower to feel thee some diffusive power, I do not therefore love thee less. My love involves the love before. My love is vaster passion now. Though mixed with God and nature thou, I seem to love thee more and more. Far off thou art, but ever nigh. I have thee still, and I rejoice. I prosper, circled with thy voice. I shall not lose thee, though I die. O living will that shalt endure when all that seems shall suffer shock, rise in the spiritual rock, flow through our deeds and make them pure, that we may lift from out of dust a voice as unto him that hears, a cry above the conquered years to one that with us works, and trust with faith that comes of self-control, the truths that never can be proved, until we close with all we loved and all we flow from, soul in soul. O true and tried, so well and long, demand not thou a marriage lay. In that it is thy marriage day is music more than any song. Nor have I felt so much of bliss since first he told me that he loved a daughter of our house, nor proved since that dark day a day like this. Though I since then have numbered o'er some thrice 3 years, they went and came, remade the blood and changed the frame, and yet is love not less, but more. No longer caring to embalm in dying songs a dead regret, but like a statue solid set and moulded in colossal calm. Regret is dead, but love is more than in the summers that are flown, for I myself with these have grown to something greater than before, which makes appear the songs I made as echoes out of weaker times, as half but idle brawling rhymes, the sport of random sun and shade. But where is she, the bridal flower, that must be made a wife ere noon? She enters, glowing like the moon of Eden on its bridal bower. On me she bends her blissful eyes, and then on thee. They meet thy look, and brighten like the star that shook betwixt the palms of paradise. Oh, when her life was yet in bud, he too foretold the perfect rose. For then she grew, for thee she grows, forever, and as fair as good. And thou art worthy, full of power, as gentle, liberal-minded, great, consistent, wearing all that weight of learning lightly like a flower. But now set out. The noon is near, and I must give away the bride. She fears not, or with thee beside and me behind her will not fear. For I that danced her on my knee, that watched her on her nurse's arm, that shielded all her life from harm, at last must part with her to thee, now waiting to be made a wife. Her feet, my darling, on the dead, their pensive tablets round her head, and the most living words of life breathed in her ear. The ring is on, the wilt thou answered, and again the wilt thou asked, till out of twain her sweet I will has made you one. Now sign your names, which shall be read mute symbols of a joyful morn by village eyes as yet unborn. The names are signed, and overhead begins the clash and clang that tells the joy to every wandering breeze. The blind wall rocks, and on the trees the dead leaf trembles to the bells. Oh, happy hour, and happier hours await them. Many a merry face salutes them, maidens of the place that pelt us in the porch with flowers. Oh, happy hour, behold the bride, with him to whom her hand I gave. They leave the porch, they pass the grave, that has today its sunny side. Today the grave is bright for me, for them the light of life increased, who stay to share the morning feast, who rest tonight beside the sea. Let all my genial spirits advance to meet and greet a whiter sun. My drooping memory will not shun the foaming grape of eastern France. It circles round, and fancy plays, and hearts are warmed, and faces bloom, as drinking health to bride and groom, we wish them store of happy days. Nor count me all to blame if I conjecture of a stiller guest. Perchance among the rest, and though in silence, wishing joy. But they must go on. The time draws on, and those white-favoured horses wait. They rise but linger. It is late. Farewell. We kiss, and they are gone. A shade falls on us like the dark, from little cloudlets on the grass, but sweeps away as out we pass to range the woods, to roam the park, discussing how their courtship grew, and talk of others that are wed, and how she looked, and what he said, and back we come at fall of dew. Again the feast, the speech, the glee, the shade of passing thought, the wealth of words and wit, the double health, the crowning cup, the 3 times 3, and last the dance, till I retire. Dumb is that tower which spake so loud, and high in heaven the streaming cloud, and on the downs a rising fire. And rise, O moon, from yonder down, till over down and over dale all night the shining vapour sail, and pass the silent lighted town, the white-faced halls, the glancing rills, and catch at every mountain head, and o'er the friths that branch and spread their sleeping silver through the hills, and touch with shade the bridal doors, with tender gloom the roof, the wall, and breaking let the splendour fall to spangle all the happy shores by which they rest, and ocean sounds, and star and system rolling past, a soul shall draw from out the vast, and strike his being into bounds, and moved through life of lower phase, result in man, be born, and think, and act, and love, a closer link betwixt us and the crowning race of those that eye to eye shall look on knowledge, under whose command is earth and earths, and in their hand is nature like an open book, no longer half akin to brute, for all we thought and loved and did and hoped and suffered is but seed of what in them is flower and fruit. Whereof the man that with me trod this planet was a noble type, appearing ere the times were ripe, that friend of mine who lives in God, that God which ever lives and lives, one God, one law, one element, and one far-off divine event, to which the whole creation moves.